current mayor of Kyle. For a year and a half before that, I served as the at-large District 1 council member for the city of Kyle. Priorities that I think the city needs to have. Number one is over-reliance on single-family, detached, entry-level residential homes. Historically produce about 80 cents in tax revenue for every dollar that the city spends in city services. In order to make up for that, we rely on commercial businesses and we rely on sales tax. We also had the highest tax rate in Hays County in 2016. We were very highly leveraged in debt and really weren't being able to get the traction we wanted to see in our industrial space and industrial expansion in particular. So over the last 4.5 years, we've reduced our property tax rate by over 11%, which leaves all of Hays County and 5-county Austin region. We have cut from 2016 to 2019, we cut our debt relative to city size in half. And we have seen over 1 million square feet of new industrial space come to the city, which has been very much a blessing.
What methods, policies, or incentives would you recommend to increase business and economic development over the next 5 to 10 years?
I would say that the primary thing we have to do is make sure that we are set up to receive the businesses correctly, because it's been said that businesses are interested in coming to the city of Kyle, and that's certainly been the case. In the last 4.5 years, we have issued more than 200 certificates of occupancy for new businesses. We've added more than 1 million square feet of light industrial, those where we just landed Amazon. We also have another announcement coming forward in the next few days on that site, as well as another announcement coming a few weeks later. So we have been able to recruit and allow for major employers to come to our city, but it didn't just happen overnight. You don't land Amazon unless you have speculative industrial space, and you don't land speculative industrial space unless you have proper incentives underneath that, which is performance-based, which is what we set up for the Majestic Park. And you don't get the speculative performance-based incentive for a light industrial park unless you have triple Freeport tax exemption. So you have to sequence your actions together in order to get to the place where that end user, that business, comes into town. And one differentiator between me is that I'm certainly not interested in only allowing businesses to come to the city that don't compete with other businesses. That's not my mentality. I think that good, healthy competition in our community is appropriate and necessary. We've added hotels, we've added restaurants, and now we have a lot of new space and offerings available for businesses to come in. We offered Amazon no incentives. The company that we're getting ready to announce probably next week, no incentives. The reason is because the incentives were laid into the industrial park itself. So private dollars came into an already built out piece of infrastructure with Kohlers and Kyle Crossing, build the vertical building. All in total, our industrial building space has increased by more than $50 million. And we created an incentive. We said, the first year, you don't have to pay property taxes if the property is still speculative. The second year, it's 80%, then 60, 40, 20, 0. The moment you lease the space, your incentive goes away. So we created an incentive that made the ground fertile for industrial space to be developed. And then the Majestic Park immediately has leased up, which means the incentives, which were performance-based, then went away. So when Amazon comes in, not only will Amazon be paying taxes on all their inventory tax, but the actual facility, the structure itself, will be paying 100% taxes to the city of Kyle. That's the way you recruit business. You don't just say, I want more restaurants and I want to spread out everywhere. You have to look at your infrastructure. You have to look at your capacity, target specifically what you want, and figure out what obstacles are in the way before you can actually recruit that end user, that end business to come to town. That's what we have been doing, and we've been setting a lot of records in that way.
How do you believe the city and the Kyle Chamber of Commerce should collaborate?
Well, the way that we have, in large part, for example, when COVID-19 first hit in March and April, it was very difficult for us to communicate, throughout the community, and that was certainly something I was trying to do a lot. But a lot of the executive mayoral orders that I had to issue had a great impact on the business community, and I leaned heavily on the chamber and business owners in general to create the space for me to engage. I think the Chamber Governing Affairs Committee is extremely important for helping to craft the policies that the chamber wants to pursue, and the more clear the chamber gets on what specifically they think the city needs to be doing, the better the city can perform and respond to those proposals. The chamber needs to be aware of what the city is doing. And it's not necessarily easy for that, because oftentimes what the city is working on, it might be recruiting a business, for example, in which case we're not allowed to say what the business is or who it is. But it's still very important, I think, to understand how the Chamber of Commerce thinks. And by doing so, I think it helps us to collaborate much better over the course of time. I applaud the Chamber for putting together the groups that they have put together. I know it's been years in the making, but an independent, symbiotic relationship between the chamber and the city probably works best, so that we're not thinking of the chamber as just another department of the city, because that's not what it is, and that's not the mission of the chamber. So there's just that balance right there that I think we're trying hard to strike. And it's never perfect. I think there are things we could be doing better. I know there's things I could be doing better. But I think we have a good relationship and are moving in the right direction.
Travis, would you like to give a 3-minute closing statement, please?
I'll do my best. Thank y'all for having me. Thank you for having me the last 4.5 years. I agree with Mr. Abdel that we are no longer trying to recruit industrial space. That's certainly the case. You have to understand, development doesn't happen overnight. You don't walk in and say, I want a restaurant, and then a restaurant comes because you really, really want one. What you have to do is you have to create that fertile soil, and that's what we've done over the last 5 years with industrial space. Industrial space in particular, the types that we have constructed, generate far more in tax revenue than they cost in city services. That puts pressure. That's what has allowed for us. For example, last year, we were able to completely eliminate proposed increases as a result of the natural, proposed tax increases as a result of the natural growth of the town. We are no longer trying to recruit and incentivize industrial space to come, because we have been able to get that. We're not against industrial space, but we had to prove the market. So you had to create something that wasn't there before. What we are focusing on right now is mixed use development. So that's vertical Class A office, that's boutique retail with office, condo, multifamily above. And that's putting our parks and city resources in proximity to mixed-use development, such that when the development happens, you actually are able to get the small businesses that we are pursuing. Because if you do strip centers on I-35, sure, some small businesses go in there, but that's how you get the types of businesses that feed off of the interstate. I've been saying for 4.5 years, over 80% of our population commutes out of town every single day, which depresses the local business economy. If you have a restaurant in town and everyone leaves during the day, that restaurant can't receive a lunch rush. So, what we've tried to do is we've tried to create an environment where these businesses could come and invest in smaller spaces with lots of people around to be able to consume those products. Another extremely important factor in that is vertical Class A office space, because you need primary jobs in your community. If you don't get those jobs, what happens is people leave, and that has a cost associated with your vehicles. A lot of people I know spend over $1,000 a month just on their vehicles, and they're commuting for hours and hours up and down I-35. By creating jobs locally, that commute goes away. So families get more time at home. They are able to save money because they don't have to commute, and they're able to contribute to the local economy. Instead of buying lunch in South Austin or in Pflugerville or wherever they go, they're able to actually purchase lunch here. So, I could go, it's 3 minutes, golly. Okay, thank you.